Art Books Update moment where I said, love does not look for loopholes, but due to the details at times, you may have to say, look, can we find a better way to resolve this? Okay. So in an interview that Taylor Swift had with Seth Meyers, they were talking about her new release of her album in this year of 2021, the Red album. And she said something, I want you to pay attention to this, that, of course, in the interview, that sometimes the person who does that, they have the questions, but she asked Seth that she wanted to explain. She feels she has to explain the reason why she was going back through re-recording her albums. Very interesting reasons, because, she brings out a fact that many artists do not own the sole rights, to their music or albums. And sometimes, yes, the rights, the catalog, if you will, are actually sometimes just bought and sold, almost like at an auction. Sometimes you don't even know who might be buying your stuff, but that's just a side thought on that. But anyway, she mentioned, especially with people, being so busy and, with life and stuff, that she does feel she needs to explain why she's doing that. Now, let me stop right there, because this is one of the points that I want to encourage you perceptive readers on. The fact of the matter is, sometimes people say, and I'm going to tell you something that I've experienced from real life. I'm not going to dwell on it. But, again, if I say it, I stand by it. And no matter what anybody else say, in the context of what I'm saying it in, I know I'm right. And if somebody, when I say people really care about how you feel about things, they normally try to, once again, sit down and really, you see why you're saying what you're saying. So what is that statement? That statement is, remember when she said she feels she needs to explain the reason. It's like, so she wanted to explain why she was re-recording her albums, And as I said before, some people may say, oh, you don't have to do that. You don't owe anybody any explanation. And of course, that is true. My emphasis is on, though, if somebody does want to talk about it or say something about it, allow them to talk about it. And that's all I want to say on that one. Now, what was it that she brought out that was, again, so interesting? I've already touched on the fact of the matter that she did not have, the right to own her own musical catalog, from the very beginning, basically. And now, 10 years later or what have you, she has now become has been able to acquire, if you will, the situation where, yes, all she has to do, because it was her original songs, her original music, her original thoughts, that she just said, well, I will make a re-recording and call it the Taylor Swift version. And by doing that, now she's still all the royalties and proceeds and everything coming from those type of versions that people listen to and purchase. Hey, who does it go to? Yes, it goes to her. And one of the things that Seth Meyers brought out is, ooh, what an interesting way or something, I'm paraphrasing, to find that loophole. However, since I told you this page is dealing with thinking and thinking ability, why do you think she did that? Does her explanation sound reasonable? Does it sound just? Does it sound fair? What do you think about it? Well, since this is the first time I'm doing this page, I'm going to share my answer, because sometimes I'll just ask you a question and have you think about it. But in this case, I want you to really understand why the critical thinking and the thinking ability would bring somebody like Taylor Swift to this conclusion. And I said it right in the beginning of this Pop Books Update moment. You've heard me use the expression sometimes, the devil is in the details. And boy, that really has a lot of meaning to it. But one of the main ones that it has been used since, from the 20s on, 1920 that is, you see, on all the way down to this day, is sometimes people, once again, genuine, kind-hearted, talented creators and singers will once again pursue a contract, and yet, with a lot of trust in mind on top of that, because, it is what it is. And what ends up happening somewhere in some of these paragraphs or what have you, the next thing you know, you find out, all you're doing is really getting the marketing promotion, and then basically where we'll make sure that you still eat and have a roof over your head, and yes, and some luxuries as well. And that's what it ends up boiling down to sometimes. And so you have to think even in the beginning. You've heard me use the expressions pretext. And pretext means when somebody may come to you and even offer something, but it really does have something in it that's really meaning something else. It's another agenda. And a majority of the time when somebody says pretext, it does mean it's going to either price gouge you or take something from you that you wouldn't give away otherwise, if the person was very upfront with it. So remember, was it already built on, once again, a fair and just, communication back and forth, decision making, etc., in the contract? Was it already, as somebody would say, being done in an honorable way? Now that is something that you can decide on. And so the point is, if it wasn't up front, because she even mentioned she should have asked more questions. But as I stated before, we all supposed to be honest people in the first place, you see. And yes, it's a learning experience. But hopefully, you see, as person learn from this interview, they will now already be forewarned and forearmed that no matter how good something sounds, make sure I not only thoroughly go through the contract, but yes, also, hey, if I want to make adjustments here and there, go back to negotiations here and there, you have every right to do that. And so if it doesn't fit for the both of you, what do? You just say, okay, well, maybe next time, you see. So thank you for being here on this Pop Books Update moment. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. You have just listened to the Perceptive Readers Podcast. Remember, until next time, if you read something that encourages you to improve or enhance your life for the better, it becomes your reality.